7 days, 5 games, 14 world records, 1 MVP trophy. That's what Caitlin Clark just did at the FIBA World Cup qualifying tournament in Puerto Rico, coming off an 8-month injury layoff. And somewhere watching all of this happen, AJ Wilson, the reigning WNBA MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, who was not even invited to Team USA's training camp, had a reaction that was genuinely jaw-dropping. So, while Clark was rewriting the record books in Puerto Rico, Wilson was watching from the outside and throwing a very public tantrum. And it is about to get so much worse for Wilson. How jealous is Asia Wilson of Caitlin Clark? Let me know in the comments. 8 months off the court does real damage to a player, not just physically. Your timing goes, your read on defenses gets slow, and your confidence in those split-second decisions just isn't there the way it was. Most players coming back from that kind of layoff are careful. They ease in, take their touches, try not to force anything. That's the smart play. That's what virtually every player in the history of the sport has done. Caitlin Clark came back and broke 5 world records in 19 minutes. Let us talk about the setup first. The FIBA World Cup qualifying tournament in Puerto Rico was international competition, not a preseason scrimmage, not a friendly. These were real games against real national teams with real stakes. Clark was coming in 8 months removed from competitive basketball, and she was not even starting. Coach Kara Lawson had her coming off the bench for the first game against Segal. On paper, that reads like a soft landing with limited minutes, low pressure, and time to shake off the rust. That is how it was supposed to go. Segal ran a full-court blitz press that was giving the starting unit serious problems. They could not handle the pressure. The offense was stalling, turnovers were piling up, and the team was playing tight. Then Clark checked in. Immediately, she started reading that press defense before it could even set. She pushed transition opportunities before the defense had a chance to recover, and she threw passes that forced defenders into decisions they were not prepared for. The starting unit was in survival mode against the same defense. Clark was turning into a fast break factory. In 19 minutes, she put up 17 points, 12 assists, and 0 turnovers. 0. Coming off the bench, coming off 8 months of rehab. Let that sit for a second. Those 12 assists did not just look good on a box score. They shattered multiple all-time FIBA records simultaneously. She broke the record for most assists ever in a Team USA senior national team debut. Not the women's record, but the all-time record, men or women, in USA basketball history. Then she broke the record for most assists in any senior national team debut across every country in FIBA history. Every country, every player ever. And then she broke the all-time FIBA record for most assists by any bench player, men or women, across all of international basketball history. 3 assists records, 1 night, 19 minutes off the bench. That's only 3 of the 5 records. She was touching categories of FIBA history that nobody had even thought to look at before that game. The crowd in Puerto Rico was reacting the way crowds react when they are watching something they do not yet have a frame for. There would be a pass, a half second of silence, and then they would lose it because what she was doing did not look like a comeback. It did not look like someone finding her footing. It looked like someone who had been waiting 8 months to do exactly this. And now the gates were open. 5 games, 7 days, 14 world records, and 1 MVP trophy going to the youngest recipient in tournament history. Clark did not just perform well at this qualifying tournament. She systematically dismantled the record book across 5 straight games, adding to the total almost every single night. Assists records, debut records, bench player records, per-game efficiency marks that nobody had touched before. By the time the Spain game wrapped up, USA Basketball had a list of 14 separate all-time FIBA records, with Clark's name next to every one of them. She did all of that coming off 8 months of rehab on a compressed 7-day schedule against international competition. The MVP award on top of it was not a courtesy. She was the clear choice and the youngest player ever to win this tournament's MVP. So that is the picture. 14 records, 5 wins, 1 trophy, the youngest MVP ever. Now, let's talk about who wasn't there. Jay Wilson, three-time WNBA MVP, Olympic gold medalist, and one of the most decorated active players in the game right now, was not at this tournament. She was not sitting at home with a wrapped ankle or dealing with some scheduling issue. She was not invited to Team USA training camp. That is it. USA Basketball looked at the roster, made their decisions, and Wilson's name was not on the list. And before anyone says maybe the whole team sat out, no. Breanna Stewart was invited. Napheesa Collier was invited. Both of them are Olympic gold medalists. Both are active WNBA players, and both had to turn it down because of obligations tied to the WNBA collective bargaining agreement negotiations. They had a legitimate reason. Wilson had no public reason at all. So the basketball world started asking questions fast. Was this a roster philosophy shift? Did something happen between Wilson and USA Basketball leadership? Nobody had a clean answer, but people were definitely connecting dots, especially given Wilson's very public behavior toward Clark over the past year. Then Wilson opened her mouth. After Clark was officially crowned FIBA MVP and all 14 records were confirmed, Wilson said that Clark was lucky I wasn't there. Read that back slowly. Clark breaks 14 world records, wins MVP as the youngest ever, goes 5-0, does it coming off 8 months of sitting out. And Wilson's take is that Clark got lucky because Wilson was not in the building. Here is the thing though, Wilson was not kept out of the tournament. She was kept out of the training camp that happened before the tournament even started. USA Basketball made that call before a single game was played. So, this was never about Clark being lucky. This was about Wilson not being selected in the first place. And the lucky I wasn't there framing only works if you believe Wilson would have somehow prevented 14 world records and the youngest MVP award in tournament history. That is a bold claim to make from your couch while someone else is literally rewriting the history books. Clark never responded. She did not have to. The lucky I wasn't there comment did not come out of nowhere. Wilson has been doing this since Clark's rookie season, and the pattern is pretty easy to trace at this point at Tacosis. When Clark signed her Nike deal as a rookie, Wilson did not just shrug and move on. She went on a month-long public run questioning Clark's stats, questioning whether the attention was deserved and questioning essentially everything about Clark's impact on the game. Not one comment, not one interview. It was a sustained public campaign that ran alongside the shoe deal announcement as if it were coordinated, and the timing was not subtle. Then Clark won Time Magazine Athlete of the Year. Wilson had something to say about that too. Then Clark began landing major speaking engagements and corporate sponsorship money at a level Wilson was not seeing. And Wilson had something to say about that as well. Every single time Clark gets recognized for something, Wilson shows up with a reaction. Every time. That is not frustration. So now let us talk about what Nike is actually doing right now, because this is where it gets really uncomfortable for Wilson. Clark's signature shoe is coming, and Nike isn't treating this like a standard player release. They've reportedly restructured workspace environments around this project, put serious resources into premium prototype development, and are running a full marketing push with designer collaborations and major campaign presence across every channel they have. Nike is treating this shoe drop like a cultural event, not just a product launch. Wilson's shoe, meanwhile, is sitting in the bargain bin. And that's not a figure of speech. Discounted inventory, no active marketing, no campaign presence, nothing. Nike has basically taken the energy and resources that were going toward Wilson's line and pointed all of it directly at Clark instead. That's a business decision, and businesses don't make those decisions randomly. The sales numbers tell the whole story in 2 sentences. Clark's signature shoe is projected to sell out in minutes when it finally drops. Wilson's shoe has been available for months and still hasn't sold out. 2 data points, same sentence, and you instantly understand exactly where each of these players stands with the biggest sports brand on the planet. Forbes ranked Clark number 4 on their most powerful women in sports list. Time Magazine gave her Athlete of the Year. Nike is building a headquarters-level project around her. None of that is coincidence. Those are companies and publications responding to TV ratings, audience numbers, and real market data. And the reason Wilson's shoe campaign is fading isn't some mystery. Companies pay attention to behavior. Wilson spent a year running a public campaign against the sport's biggest draw, built a reputation as one of the most toxic presences in the WNBA. Then Clark went out and broke 14 world records anyway, won the MVP as the youngest ever, and went 5-0 undefeated. Wilson's shoe has been sitting on shelves for months, marked down, with no marketing behind it. Clark's signature shoe has not even dropped yet, and it is already projected to sell out in minutes. Wilson was not there. Clark broke 14 world records without her. That is not luck. That is just the gap between where these two players actually stand right now. Do you think Wilson actually believes she would have changed anything in Puerto Rico? Or is saying she was lucky she was not there just the only thing left to say when the record book stops being on your side? How jealous is AJ Wilson of Caitlin Clark? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen and we will see you in the next one.